All right, welcome back to another podcast. Today, I have a special guest. Her name is Julia, and she's actually my daughter. And today, she's going to be sharing her story, even though she's not a business person yet or anything like that. But she does have a story that she wants to share. So, Julia, welcome.
Thanks.
So glad to have you on the podcast. And obviously, you grew up with me, me being your dad. So I know a lot about you. But for the audience, why don't you introduce yourself? Like, who are you?
Okay. Yes. Who am I? Hi guys. So I'm Jules. My real birth name is Julia, but you started calling me Jules.
Yes.
And I literally told him the other day that he was the one, because I like to spell my name Jewels, because it's different. And you originally told me that that's what, like, how you spelled it.
Yeah.
But you were telling me the other day that you were like, oh, I forgot.
No, I mean, so I forgot, but then I remembered.
Okay. Well, anyways, so I'm Jules. I'm 21 years old. My life is really just now beginning. It's kind of what we're getting into. But I graduated high school 3 years ago. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Went to cosmetology school for a little bit, ended up dropping out. Just all over the place, really. But I like to identify myself with being an artist. I've always been into art, always been creative, whether it's with physically drawing or music or film, all of those sorts. I'd like to say I'm probably a jack of all trades. But yeah, we're still well, I know who I am now in Christ, but
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, it's the beginning.
Yeah, so let's actually go way back and talk about, like, when you were just a child, like in elementary school, before elementary school. What do you remember about yourself then?
Well, growing up, I always envisioned myself being like a famous singer. That was a big thing. And I was always very like curious about the world and how everything worked, which, I mean, I feel like all of us are. But as a kid, I remember, like, probably when I was like 8 or 9, I remember always asking you to, like, come stop by my bed real quick so we could have like late night talks, deep talks. And I remember, like, on the way to school and stuff, and we'd like go on the highway, and like when you're a kid, you never really, like, you're just, everything's new. So, but I just remember thinking, like, wow, like all these different lives, like I wonder what everyone else is doing. Like there's just like so much going on, but it's like everyone's own little like movie. Like our own lives are all our own movie, but there's so many different little movies just going on all around you, and it's just like, I don't know. So I was always very fascinated with how the world worked and all the above. But
So when you were, let's say when you were between, I don't know, 6 and 10, what was your environment like? Like, what did you do on a daily basis? What kind of influence did you have at that time?
I mean, I'm just now starting to like remember all my old memories, because I feel like for a long period I didn't really remember. But I think from 6 to 10, like my life really just, I just remember feeling so like excited about life all the time and like wanting to be outside. And I mean, I know that I was probably drawing a lot still. Like, you have all my old drawings and things. Didn't I use like the tablet? Mm-hmm. I was drawing on the tablet. I I don't think I started the Bethany Moda fan page until maybe like 12.
Okay.
So, because I didn't have any sort of social media or anything then.
Yeah, I don't remember. I think I gave you an iPod.
Yeah, iPod when I was
how old?
when I was 13.
13?
Yeah.
That's when it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
When I was 13.
So when you were younger in elementary and, well, basically elementary, you were just going to school, coming home.
Yeah.
What was your life like at home, at school?
I'm really trying to like remember. I mean, like
You would play with Lily and...
well, yeah, I'd hang out with my siblings. But it's like weird how that age gap like are not my strongest memories for real. But I know that I played with Legos a lot, and I would always make those stop motion videos.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't that age group when we did like Baybot Builders too?
Yeah, probably.
Around then. I just remember like being around family a lot. And like traveling, going to Alaska. But I think I was like 2 years old when we went to Alaska.
Yeah.
Those are probably like my first real memories. Because
Yeah.
that was scary, driving in the mountains.
You remember? So what do you remember about driving
scared.
there?
I just remember that there was like this railing that was like, it looked like it was only like 2 feet tall. And I was like, what is that supposed to do? Like,
yeah,
how you got a 2 feet railing? And then, so I didn't understand that.
Do you remember seeing any animals in
there? Yeah, I remember wasn't there like moose?
There might have been moose. There were like mountain goats.
I remember like they were like stopping our car and we couldn't go. I was scared about that too.
Yeah.
Why are you on your phone right now?
And then somebody was calling, so I gotta put it on mute. Do you remember seeing a black bear, a small one, crossing on the side of the road?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Wow. I remember when I came back, or like a few years later, I remember telling like one of the students at school that I had gone. He was like, "That's impossible," and I was like, "Wait, but how?" Like I went. Like I started questioning myself, but that was always. I remember that was like my biggest flex growing up, was saying that I'd been to Alaska at such a young age. But
so when you were 13, you got your first piece of electronic. Well, even before that,
no, I had my tablet before that. Oh yeah, okay. And I played like Angry Birds, and I guess I just like did drawing and stuff
on the tablet.
I'm trying to think of what else I did on there. I don't know. Yeah.
I remember we were trying to do like coloring, but coloring on the computer. So you'd like fill in with different colors, different parts of whatever the picture was.
Yeah, on like Photoshop.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember when it was like 4th grade when I'd make like little cards for my friends, and I'd like draw pictures of us, and yeah. But I also remember I love scrapbooking. I love scrapbooking. I still love scrapbooking, but I haven't done it since then.
So how did you get into the Bethany Moda fan page stuff?
I think I started watching YouTube probably when I had my tablet. So I really liked, what is this? What year was this? Like 2014 type, maybe 2012. 2012 to like 2014. So that was when like YouTube had just come out, really, I believe, and that's when like Bethany Moda kind of went off. And I think she was like 18 years old at the time, but she basically, like, her audience was definitely like younger girls. But she had talked about, like, she literally had posted like one video. She just posted like a makeup haul, and it like went viral like, no offense to Bethany Moda, but I don't know why it went viral, because it wasn't anything like crazy. Like, it was not good quality. She was like barely talking, like whispering. She was just really, really cute and just like, you know, like innocent and like sweet. And Um, I didn't know her from her first video, but she started making like DIY content and like hauls and get ready with me's and like room tours and just like some other like creative things like event DIYs, and I was just obsessed with it. Like I love that stuff, like anything that's like crafts or like for holidays or whatever. So like I remember I made like, she had like a Valentine's Day video and I like made all the DIYs from that. I decorated my whole room. Like I was obsessed with her. And I really wanted to be a YouTuber like from that age on. Like I was like, and I literally I was still in elementary school, and I had asked like my principal, I asked Mr. Boschnack, I believe, and this was yeah, because I went to a private school, so it was K through 12. And so I like hadn't even been to high school yet, and I wanted to like, she had like back to school videos, and I was just like, oh, like back to school hairstyle videos or whatever. And so I like recreated it, but like with my own ideas. But it was like fun to like be an elementary kid, just like in the high school, like filming in like the classroom and stuff. Like I felt so fun. And now looking back, like that's so good. Mm-hmm. But I ended up stemming away from all that because of like fears and everything else. But now I'm getting back to my roots because that was where I was supposed to be all along. But yeah, so Bethany Moda, and then with the fan page, I don't even know how I got into that, but I think I don't even know how I came across like other fan pages, but it was really just because I loved like editing as well. So I would make like, and that whole like social media opened up like a whole bunch of doors to like photograph editing and like video editing. So I was always very into those two as well. And so I would make these like little edits like from her videos and stuff. And then I noticed that people could like go viral from these things. So that's what like I really started getting into it. And I'm like 12 and I had raised like 6,000 Instagram followers, which like isn't crazy, but like for my age then, like I was pretty proud of myself. And I just remember like commenting on like every other like Instagram or fan pages and being like for like, follow for follow. Like, please, it would mean the world if you would like my last post. Like I was out here hustling, but I remember making so many like internet best friends on there too. And like it's funny because I still like follow like a few of them like on Instagram now. But man, yeah, I need to reach out again because it's just like, wow. But yeah, that was a fun era of my life for sure.
Yeah. So a lot of teenagers or young adults go through kind of that teenage phase of like not knowing who they are and not necessarily trusting people in authority like their parents or school teachers and so on, that they know any better. So they try to find their own way in life. Mm-hmm. What do you feel like, as far as you, where did that stem from? Like, where did that come from? How did you go about that part of your life?
I think things started to get like okay, growing up, I was always like more shy and like a little reserved, and I really like, I was sensitive and I cared what other people thought a lot. And like as a kid, like I got my confidence from like what I was doing and like whatever. And also I wasn't like stressed about anything, like I was just chilling. So, but once I think definitely once like kids hit like 4th grade, that's when, you know, like your body's changing, your hormones are everywhere, there's so much like change happening so fast, like the transition from like being a kid to like a tween, and there's so many pressures around you as well. So, and then I just remember like constantly comparing myself, and like the rise of social media as well. And so like before I was like, okay, well, like my identity doesn't come from that, or but I think like I didn't like fully understand what it meant to like believe who you are in Christ. So I never like went in that route, because I didn't like, I was just like, oh, like I'll read my Bible, but like I was like, I don't understand it, and I don't know, I just like, I don't know, I was so focused on like this ideal image of like what I wanted from the world, that it literally just like,
what was that ideal image? Like, what was the ideal life that you were looking for?
like I just always wanted, I mean, since I was a kid, I told you, like, I want to live in LA, I want to be a famous singer, like I want to have the tattoos, I want to have the earrings, I want to have this lifestyle, like, but like not even knowing like what all comes with it, and like all the negative parts of it. Like I just like, it just looked like extravagant, but I didn't understand, like I didn't see that lifestyle as like a possibility in healthy ways, I guess. Like I always just like associated it with like, I don't know, like a certain persona. And I also was like, oh, well, if I'm going to have a music career, like I need to go through some life first. Like, let me just like blow some things up and go a little crazy so I can have some content. Like that was literally like my mindset. Well, that was farther down the road, but what was the question?
Well, basically when you were at that age, I'll just kind of ask a different question. When you were going through your teenage years, what do you feel like affected you the most? Like, was it your emotions? Was it your environment? Was it the social media? Like, or all of it, but in what ways? Like, how did all these external things and internal things have an impact on your life?
It was definitely all the above. Like environmentally, like I know now, obviously y'all only wanted to protect me and you wanted the best for me, but like as a kid, like you just can't see it then. Like when you would want to meet all of my friends' parents, or when you would say that I couldn't hang out with my friends or I couldn't go to sleepovers, like I was just like, oh, like they don't understand, like. And so, or like, us not growing up with like a Christmas tree, or not being able to celebrate Halloween, or me not even being able to get like my first piercing. So like I feel like just like not like understanding really fully as to what those reasons are, but just like comparing, like, and then also being first generation. So like all of my family being Ukrainian, me not really even being able to communicate with my parents, and then going to school with all these Americans, which I mean, obviously everyone's homes are different, but of people who are like really close with their grandparents, or who can all like, they have these like beautiful Christmases with all these pretty decorations, or people who are still, getting to dress up on Halloween. Like I always wanted, like, because like that was like my thing, like dressing up and DIYs, like I just loved it. And like I understand how like Halloween is seen, it's definitely not the Lord's holiday, but I do think that there's no harm in like creating your own, like I feel like it's a good opportunity for kids, honestly, to like tap into their creative side. So just like comparing my life to like everyone else around me and what I saw, because like this is the first time that like that's when you're realizing like, oh, this is different, you know, like, oh, some people live like this, like starting to realize like, oh, like this, like I'm not, you know. So that definitely started like environmentally, that started like comparisons and like a little bit of like rebellion inside me, because I was like, I kind of resented y'all a little bit, because I was like, well, like that's like, this sucks, like I want these experiences, like, and like eventually like we, you know, we started getting there. Eventually we got a Christmas tree, and then but I just was like, and I didn't really realize at the time either that other people could change. Like I really thought like who I met is like who you are and who you will be. So I never like really saw the possibilities like, oh, well, people can like improve and things can like change, like there is always hope. I kind of just like saw things as like the end all be all for a lot.
How was social media as far as at that time? What kind of influence did it have on you?
At that time I was always chilling with social media. Social media didn't impact me negatively until like I was like 14 years old, so I guess like 2 years later. But yeah, it was then that I would see, you know, like other people my age doing like who knows what and being like so far along in life or doing like such crazy like cool things, and then I'm just like, oh, like I guess like I already failed. Like that's what, like I was like, oh well, I guess like there's no point in even trying, like on like they already beat me, like, and not that it's like a race, but it, like I was just like, I don't know why I saw it so like end all be all. Like I was just like, oh, okay, well I guess I'm like, I guess my life is pointless, and I like, and that's literally like a lie from the devil, but it drove my life for a long time, because I don't know. And then also I didn't understand like SMART goals. Like I did, but I didn't. Or at least I it seemed, and I think it was because when I was a kid, I wasn't as worried about like perfection. And I remember dealing with it when I was like editing like all those posts for my fan page or whatever. And I remember like, you know, things wouldn't always like work the way I wanted, and it was all like, you know, what do you call it? Test and
trial.
Yeah, test and trial. Yeah. So, and I knew that everyone also had like their own way of doing it. Like you could always learn something new from someone else. Like there wasn't just one way to do it. There's not just one correct way. And I think once I started seeing how other people lived, and I started seeing this like perfect lifestyle, and like I started to think like, oh, like I'm just not good enough. And like I'll never be able to like have this, like it's just not possible for me. I don't know like where all these things came from, but, and it's still in that like transition period of your life too, where you're like dealing with all these emotions and things and whatnot. So
you also started playing volleyball. How old were you? Were you 13 or 14 when you
I think started? I was even younger. I remember going to tryouts when I was probably like
it was 12 you. Yeah. So
yeah. Dang, it's so interesting to like look back at all this. I'm just like, I wish I had a time machine.
What, looking back at volleyball, at club volleyball, what's your view of that and how you kind of went through it?
Club volleyball, man, I still remember like my first day of tryouts at the Armory, and I just remember not looking like any of the other girls, and I was like, and that definitely started a lot of insecurity as well.
And what do you mean by not looking at any other girls? Like in what way?
Like even like what I was wearing, like I think I had like different shorts on, and I didn't have like, I don't know. And I also like I grew up like a little chunkier, because mom fed us very well. But And so that was another thing too. I didn't really understand like what a healthy weight was either. Like I kind of like I grew up like a little chunkier, and you know, everyone around me would just be like, you're not fat, you're just like big boned. What? Like that's not even a thing. Like
it's not a thing being big boned. I think I'm big boned.
Is it?
Yeah. Some people have like bigger bones than others.
Well, ultimately.
But then you can also put on fat.
But it was
on
like,
top of it.
Yeah, but from what I understood was like, oh, well, I'm just like built like this, even though like I probably wasn't at a healthy weight, you know? So I definitely wasn't at a healthy weight, because why am I like 11 with like a big stomach? Like that's what I didn't like, is that people were like, oh, it's just chunky, and then they go through their like, no, your kid isn't supposed to be like fat for the beginning of their years. Like, no, you're like, but I didn't know that, like, obviously. But so I would always like compare myself. Yeah, even like I remember like going to Seabreeze as a kid too, and like everyone's wearing like bikinis, and like I could never feel confident wearing a bikini, like ever. And so
that was the first day of trial. You felt kind of out of place.
Yeah.
But you kind of stuck through it.
Right.
As much as you may not have wanted to at first.
And all the other girls had been there for like years before. Like, and I almost felt like late, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so young, and like people have already been doing this for years. Like, what? So that was another thing too that I struggled with.
What about like after that? So you went through tryouts, you went on a team. What was your first season and kind of next seasons like?
I was still like, these are literally like the prime periods of my life where I was like beginning to start dealing with like mental health issues. But I just remember like, again, like I was always like a little bit more shy, so like I had a little bit of social anxiety, but I was still like a sweet kid, so you know, like I'd be nice to everyone, but I'm still like getting used to seeing so many like different personalities and like other people, so it's kind of like, I don't know, like I'm a little scared, but and it was such like I loved league volleyball, and it was fun for all the like traveling opportunities, and just like definitely being a part of a team like helped me a lot. But yeah, I know that it was also like kind of a bit of a struggle, because that's when I really stopped being involved in church because of league volleyball. Like how I remember Mom was saying that she didn't want me to be doing league volleyball because it was on like Wednesday nights that I'd have practices, and I think that's definitely when things like, that's like my relationship with God was kind of like cut off from that point on. So I can see how that definitely affected me, because I was like, without being involved in like church and like being reminded of the truth and like learning, like I had no protection. Like I was just open to the world and whatever it had to offer. So yeah.
I mean, we were going to
on
church
Sundays. Yeah, but it's like you're not, I'm not in with other people my age, like dealing with all, like I didn't know how Christian, like I didn't know what other people were dealing with, that it was like similar, and what a Christian stance was on that. It's not like I had those kinds of conversations with you guys, so it's like I'm just holding this all in to myself, you know? So like I don't know. You're a kid, you don't know.
Right, you weren't asking about it, you weren't talking about it. It seemed like it was not even a thought.
I mean, yeah, I remember it wasn't until I think once it reached like 14, 15, that's when I started being a little bit more vocal about it. And I was like, y'all don't want to like kill yourselves? Like, is this not normal? Like, what? Like, I was just so conflicted, because I was like I remember like talking about it a lot and like saying like, I want to kill myself, like, and people would like joke about it too with stuff. Like I remember that was a big time too. just like within our generation and stuff, and like within my friends, like one thing goes wrong and you're like, oh, I'm gonna kill myself, like yeah, no, that's not okay to say.
Yeah. So that was,
but it was just so normalized, and
that was just used, those words were just used
yeah,
as regular words.
yeah.
And now you know that, like, what you put into your mind, what you say, what words you use, those have impact.
And it's like I knew that from a young age. Like I was doing that, and I knew that, and I would like guide, and I was always like, and it's so sad because like I literally was such a like big sister to so many like little girls like around me, whether it was like with church or like at school and stuff. And like I was a good influence, and then like, and I was so sensitive to everything as well. Like now, like thank God, like I'm back to that. But yeah, it's like you just become like desensitized to it. So it's insane how much power it has.
Mm-hmm. So okay, so you went through volleyball. That kind of gave you at least a little bit of a social environment, right?
Yeah.
Like you had some volleyball friends that you hung out with here and there. But outside of volleyball, what was your life like in school? And
outside of volleyball, I mean, I had my friends from school that I would hang out with occasionally. Again, I mean, I kept doing league up till right before we moved, right?
yeah.
So when was like my last year there? I don't even. I mean, my life kind of just really felt like volleyball in school. I mean, that's really all I had time for. Because I mean, with tournaments and well, I was still like doing creative things on the side. Like I still really enjoyed, like I love singing. I would always make like made a whole bunch of like covers and stuff. But it's like all these things like I was just doing like really for myself. Like it wasn't like I don't know what I was expecting to come from it, but it was just like an outlet, you know? So I did stuff like that. Like I would edit some like videos. I like making montages. I mean, we went on like plenty of field trips with school. So I spent some of my other time, like I watched a lot of movies.
What kind of movies?
Well, in that time period, I remember when I was a kid, I liked watching a lot of like Disney princess movies and like Barbie princess movies. Those were awesome. And I also do remember comparing a lot of like, another thing that caused a wedge a little bit is that like definitely music, because you know y'all didn't really grow up playing any other music besides like Christian music, if even. We didn't really play music that often. So, and then like hearing like my other friends like listening to like folk or like I guess like indie music or I don't know, and I just like thought that was like the coolest thing ever. Like again, like I had this very like LA dream and this lifestyle that I just wanted so bad, and I was like, oh well, I'm just not that, so I can't be that. And that was like my mindset. But it's like, no, you're not like born anything. Like you decide that for yourself.
Julia, when you were going through those years, like between 12 and let's say 20, you were kind of moving further and further away from, I guess, what I would call reality or whatever. Like you were in your own world. You didn't seem to want to socialize or be
Yeah.
around us or the circles that we would want you to be around. What would you attribute to like having that behavior? Like what wanting to be away or not interact with family and things like that? Like why was that?
I mean, it was really just like I was just hiding behind like a lot of hurt and insecurity, and that I like created for myself. But I think it was, and I hate this so much, but like literally beginning of it was like freshman year, I was like living by the motto that if I just don't have expectations, then I won't ever be disappointed. And I don't know what hurt me in the past to make me feel that way. Well, I think it really, like, I think it was just like not like comparing my family, like comparing everyone to like other families and what I had versus what I didn't. And like before, I'd always been like grateful and like thankful for what I did have, because I did have so much. Like I was blessed beyond measure. But I started to like not think that it was enough or that I was enough. And so I just like put my expectations at an all-time low. And I just have this like driving belief in that, like, it just like I just wasn't ever going to be enough, and like there's no point in trying. And so like I didn't. And so I literally was just like going through the motions from then on and just letting life happen to me. Mm-hmm. And like obviously like things just kept getting worse, like, and you have no idea who you are, so you're just like all over the place and tapping into things that you shouldn't. And that was just like the very beginning of like of even more mental illnesses to come. And I was just like so lost, and it was just like horrible. It was literally like the trenches, like hell, like. And I remember like, and I was still like kind of like still like talking to God like at some point, like, but I just like didn't, like, I wasn't making sense, in the sense that I'd be like, oh, like, why did this happen, blah 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 blah, like not thinking about like the fact that like my, you know, like your actions have consequences, like it's not God doing these things to you, like you have free will. And if I actually like, you know, took the time to get to know God, I would know that. But I didn't, I wasn't close to him at all. I wasn't involved in any sort of way. So I was just like, oh, why are these things happening? Like, well, girl, because look at what you're doing. Like, I don't know why I thought that like if I just did nothing, then it would be like okay. But so yeah, it was just this really weird place. And then I also started believing that like, you know, I wasn't good enough. So then I cut like everybody off, like all my old friends, and literally everyone was like telling me like, you know, like you're changing, like what's going on, like. And but I mean, obviously like some of my other friends were all going through their own things as well. So it's like, and I'm still not like really rooted in church. So, and I also like, I had this like messed up view of like church girls almost. I was just like, oh, well, you know what? They had like good lives growing up. Like and I don't know why I'm acting like I didn't, but well, now that I'm looking back, another big thing too was like with the comparison thing is, you know, growing up in like a Christian healthy family, like my parents are still together. Obviously like things weren't perfect all the time, but just like everyone talking about like their broken homes and stuff. And I was like, and I think that's when like mental illness started to low-key become attractive to people in some ways. Like not attractive, but like it was almost like, you know, like the bad boy who like smokes weed, and like, you know, the like it was just like it was like glamorized to be like bad. Mm-hmm. And so like, and that's why like the media really is so messed up, because like like I fell victim to that, and especially like the high school experience as a whole as well. Like I really thought that that's how life was supposed to be, and like I was like, great, like I don't get this like fun American lifestyle that like, boo, my life sucks. Like I just couldn't see reality whatsoever, and I was just so blinded by literally like probably the agenda that they want. So that was that was messed up.
So it was more at like the core was at comparing yourself to
comparison,
what the TV shows put out there, what social media had out there, and so on. And I know you were going through a period of FOMO.
Oh,
right?
Big,
Like you felt like you were missing out on what somebody else was doing.
Yeah.
What was that like during the time?
Well, I dealt with FOMO probably like till I was like 19, and it's like the stupidest thing ever because you're always gonna miss out. But if you're so focused on missing out of things, then you're gonna miss out of living your own life, and that's what I literally did. But I was like, it was just like information overload, and I didn't understand how to like process everything, and like especially because like I'm not grounded in God, so I'm looking for all these other things. I'm trying to see like who I'm supposed to be because I'm not getting that from God. Mm-hmm. So, but obviously there's so many like again, so many different people's lives on different paths, on different timelines, and I'm trying to compare myself like to their 20 years down the road journey, and I'm like, oh my God, I'll never be that. Like, of course, you're like 13. Like, but I thought that was just like the end all be all. Like, oh my gosh, like, so yeah, like it really, really messed me up.
So the comparisons, and then the other challenge I remember, you and your sister, the whole Snapchat streaks.
Oh my God, streaks, so stupid.
Where
literally
you couldn't,
so
like,
stupid.
Not be on the screen for whatever because of what. Looking back at that, what do you think of that?
Stupid. So stupid. Such a waste of time. Such a distraction. Literally. Like I wish I could just like go back in time because I would be so rich right now. It's like upsetting. Not that is all that matters, but
like as parents, like I was telling you,
I know, literally, and you had me like sister, you were trying to give me all these powerful wise books to read. You literally in order for me to get my phone in 7th grade, you made me read all those books and take notes on them.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe all that wisdom is still up there somewhere. but it's just like I hate that I was so blinded from what was good for me. But it was literally because like I had just accepted that I would never be enough. Like I was running out of hope. I was like, there's no point. There's no point. And that's when like all like the suicidal ideation started coming in as well.
How were you processing that? Because like your mom and I, we were still encouraging you, like letting you know that there's a greater purpose for you and so on. And
it just was a belief. Like I just couldn't accept myself.
Yeah. Like
I just couldn't. And I didn't until February. So like.
Yeah. I mean, I remember you were talking about how you didn't see a future. Like you couldn't envision anything in the future for yourself.
Yeah.
So what was that like back then, and how did that change?
How was it like not envisioning a future? Or?
Yeah, like in your mind or your life, what was it like not like thinking that you have no future?
Well, it was just nothing mattered, and that's how I lived. I lived like very much day to day, never planned anything for the future, didn't care of what I did because ultimately I was just like, and that's why I started spiraling, and that's why I went and did things that I regretted because I was like, well, I'll just go and like, I'll just kill myself. Like I want to get all the fun experience. I want to be able to drive. I want to, do all these other things. get them out the way, like, because that's all I thought like life really mattered. I was like, oh well, after that and then your life sucks, because I don't know, just like the media again, like everyone just shows like once you grow up, once you're an adult, like life just sucks. You just work the rest of your life and it just sucks. And I was like, okay, well great, like my childhood's over, like boo, like why am I here, you know? Like I don't want to be here if the rest of my life sucks, you know? So then I just went crazy. And then so yeah, of course, yeah, I didn't see a future myself, because I remember being like 13 and just seeing like death for myself, or seeing myself ending up like homeless, or seeing like just like catastrophizing my whole entire existence and future.
So when did that change? When did you start seeing the future?
That changed at the beginning of this month. Yeah.
Because you were talking about how now you can see a future, like now you can envision yourself.
But it's literally only because of God.
So like,
because like,
elaborate on that.
And it's so cool. It's so cool how God works, bro. Literally. But it's because we have no future without God. Literally. Like without God, you are nothing. You have nothing. Like your future is hell without God. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's why I didn't see one, because I didn't know what it meant to be close with God. I didn't know how to have a relationship with him. So like, of course, I'm just going to see death for myself, because that's what we deserve without him.
So how did it change for you?
It changed very slowly but surely. But it started off with, I mean, like after since this started when I was like 14, so 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Wow. That's like 7 years of trauma. So, and it wasn't until like, you know, I came back home in February, and like I was just left with like the mess of my life and all the choices that I'd made to lead up to like this very moment. And I was like, what am I doing? Because then it started to like bleed into not only just like I realized like I'm not even like going in a decent direction. Like I'm literally like I didn't even recognize myself anymore. Like, which I hadn't for like probably like a few years then, but I had like lost complete sight of like who I even was. And then I just felt so like, I mean, I started spiraling even more, like, and I really started believing like the lies even more. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, like clearly like I can't do anything, like clearly like, and I started thinking I was like disabled. I was like, oh my gosh, like, and I was trying to schedule like therapy appointments, and I was like, I need medication, like obviously, like what is wrong with me, like I can't even function. I can't even like, I mean, obviously like girl, you can't function, but and you know, like I didn't get my period for 3 months. My hair started falling out. I was so scared, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna die soon. Like I'm gonna die soon if something doesn't change. Literally, like my body was in distress. Like I was like, oh my gosh, like what is going on? Like this is so scary. And so I'm trying to think of it was February 21st that I got officially like saved. Like I was still like going back and forth with things, but like that's when I was like, okay, like I need to start reading my Bible. I need to start having a relationship with God. Like, okay. But it was just because like when I moved back home, like I'd quit both my jobs, and I was just like, I couldn't even do anything. And I was just like kind of like I was stuck with my mess, and I was just reflecting on everything. And I just had this like driving belief too that I just like was not a good person. And I think like because I had lost sight of like God and like sin, I started to believe that like my sinful nature was just like who I was. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, well, I feel this way, so I'm just like a bad person. Like I have these thoughts, so I'm like a bad person, you know? So then I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm a bad person. And then that also led other beliefs and whatnot. So, where was I going with that?
So when things started to change for you?
Yeah. So I think it was like February 21st. And I'm going to pull up like the verse I read, because I think I had randomly just like flip through my Bible, because I like to do that a lot in the past. I'd be like, okay, let me just flip through a random thing and like see if it connects to me or whatever. And that's what I did. And oh, why do I have no service? It's not loading. Is there no service in here?
You should.
Where did I go? Wait, maybe I can. Okay. It was Acts 20. Let's see what it says. Therefore I testify to you this day that I am innocent of the blood of all, for I did not shrink from declaring to you the whole counsel of God. Pay careful attention to yourselves and to all the flock in which the Holy Spirit has made you overseers to care for the church of God, which he obtained with his own blood. I know that after my departure fierce wolves will come in among you, not sparing the flock. And from among your own selves will arise men speaking twisted things to draw away the disciples after them. Therefore be alert, remembering that for 3 years I did not cease night or day to admonish everyone with tears. And now I commend you to God and to the word of his grace, which is able to build you up and to give you the inheritance among all those who are sanctified. I coveted no one's silver or gold or apparel. You yourselves know that these hands ministered to my necessities and to those who were with me. In all things I have shown you that by working hard in this way, we must help the weak and remember the words of the Lord Jesus, how he himself said, "It is more blessed to give than to receive." When he had said these things, he knelt down and prayed with them all, and there was much weeping on the part of all. They embraced Paul and kissed him, being sorrowful most of all because of the word he had spoken, that they would not see his face again, and they accompanied him to the ship. I don't know why that really stood out to me in that moment, but I just remember it really did. But there was like a lot of things that were like coming into alignment like right before, like even like the devotionals that like mom was reading were like lining up perfectly to like what I was dealing with in that season. And there was just like little things where I was like, okay. But it really felt like God had just cornered me in the best way possible. Like I was just like, he was just like, where are you gonna go? Like, where are you gonna go? Where are you gonna go now? Like, come on, where are you gonna go? But I was just like, no, like, and a big thing that kept me in my past was my past. I was just like, look at everything I've already done. Like, it's too late for me. Like, I can't even like get out of this. Like, genuinely, like from February to now was me climbing out of hell, literally. Because I was just so desensitized and broken and lost. Like, it was just horrible. But I was like, okay, no, I know what it means to like God says, like, because I was like I never believed God. Like when God was like, you're enough, you're made in my image, all these other things. I was just like, and I like resented him because I was like, no, I'm not. Like, can't you tell? Like, I'm not. Like, I didn't understand. And so like day by day, like I started, and like my life was a mess. he saw my room, like I was just a mess. Like, so like I started putting up those stickers on my walls and like just saying like who God said I was. And that's when I was like reflecting on everything. So then I started just working for you for free, because I was like, oh my gosh, like all this stuff that I put my poor dad through, like, oh my goodness, literally, like I owe it all. Like, so I was like doing that. And then, but I was just really trying to like tell myself like who I was in Christ. But it was like so hard, because I was like, I'm not, like, but I'm like, but you say I am, but like I'm not, but like I am. And so I would literally just like go back and forth, and like I would take 3 steps forward and then I take 3 steps back. And then even with like substances, like I didn't understand how much that truly affected me. And so I finally like started really cutting that out. And I had slipped up like one time, but it wasn't even a slip up. It was just because I still had this like nagging voice in my head that was like, it doesn't matter, like nothing you do matters, like. And so I was just like, well, whatever, like. And so, and it was just, it's like so upsetting, because literally that's like what depression is, I feel like, or at least like with me, like it was just like the absence of God and the world's voice like in your head instead. And like, so I was still trying to like get involved in things, and like I was so scared, like because of like the mess I was in. Like I felt like I couldn't even work. I was like, I can't go back to like a job, like, and I'm like reflecting on like my work performance and how I even was as an employee. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I was like, I can't go back. Like I don't even, like, what even, and, so then I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm going to be unemployed for the rest of my life. I'm going to be living at home for the rest of my life. Like, oh no, like this ain't it. And, yeah, I was still just like very much filled, like I had, since moving back, like again, like dealing with like insomnia and like depression, anxiety, panic attacks, all these crazy things happening with my body. Didn't have a normal schedule. I was still like working out consistently since December, but just like all over the place. And like I was just like filled with like suicidal ideation. I didn't even know what that, like I finally got my vocabulary right. Because I didn't even know like what the terms like had meant. Because I remember since I was like 14, I would just be constantly Googling like just like open rounded questions, I guess. Like I would always be like, why do I feel insecure? Why am I depressed? How do I cure depression? Da 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 da. Like all these like, and I would just go circles and circles and circles and circles and circles and circles and circles, because I wanted the answer to be anything but God. I was like, no, there needs to be like a literal, tangible, like something that I can just like, you know, like.
Yeah. So, give kind of a comparison of waitressing now compared to how you used to waitress.
Oh my goodness. Before. Oh my goodness. I'm actually a good worker. I wasn't a bad worker, but I was a bad worker when I first started, and then I got like a little bit better. But it's like, when you're filled with the Holy Spirit, you genuinely, like, again, like I was like in my Bible and I was like learning like the ways of God and who he calls us to be. And like, you know, some people are just good people because they want to be good people, or they want something from you, you know. But it's like when you're filled with the Holy Spirit and you like, you want to do everything out of a place of love because you genuinely care. And it's obviously made such an impact with how I interact with people and like my tables, because it's like before, like I would feel like insecurity, or I'd be like, oh my gosh, like they're judging me, or oh, like I messed up, or like, but it's like now that my identity is in Christ, like I don't, like that's not where I'm getting my sense of self from, or like my confidence or anything. Like I know I'm human, I'm gonna mess up, I'm gonna fail, like it is what it is, and I'm not gonna stay in that place. So, but it's like I genuinely like, because I finally found freedom in God, like all I want is to show that light to other people. And now I finally understand like how it is like to show the light to everyone else and to be a representation of like how Jesus was. So
now you're not focusing on yourself.
Yeah.
You're not
And
thinking of yourself
not
first.
at all.
You're focusing on whatever you're doing at the moment.
Yeah.
Right. So that like not having to focus on your insecurities or whatever else about yourself frees you to actually go do something.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say to girls that are struggling with depression, anxiety, like all the things that you went through? What would you tell them?
I mean, if you haven't gotten the answer already yet, go to God. But, and you know, everyone was saying that to me, but it was just like annoying at that point. But when I say go to God, like genuinely just know, like it's the ultimate truth. Like, and you'll see it for yourself. Just give him a chance. Like, just believe who he says you are and seek what he seeks and ask to care about what he cares about. And you'll see things clearly, and you'll see what's spiritually going on around you, and all you'll want to, and you'll literally become like a vessel of God, and you'll be able to like make a difference. Like that's literally like who we're called to be. Like just like get involved with like a Christian community. Like I feel like that was like the biggest thing that probably would have helped me so much more. Well, that I definitely needed, because I was not involved in any sort of Christian community until now, which I'm like still not even really there yet, but I will be. So.
But how do you get somebody to want to, right? Because we were trying to get you involved and you would just not really want to be part of it.
How did you try to get me involved?
Well, you were saying, well, there are no girls with our age or with my age there, or this
Where?
or that. Like even at like Calvary in Rochester. Way back when you were a teenager.
I don't even know. I think like, I mean, again, like if there's already been like damage done, like with me, like I was already so deep in that, like I think what would have helped me and what I would have needed is someone to really like have brought me back to reality and like really had like a tough discussion with me and was like, hey, like I'm saying this because like I care about you, and you know, like, but like the choices that you're making, all these other things, but also just like really speaking life into me, because I feel like what really hurt me the most was like, yeah, I was going in a bad direction, but like everyone around me they weren't really speaking life to me. They were still like just like beating me down. And
so
like,
are you referring to like other people, like friends or somebody else outside of family?
It was mainly family.
So like, well, as your dad, like I feel like I have been kind of explaining or trying to explain to you the trajectory of your life.
Yeah, but I couldn't.
Right?
I was too blinded by that. So like, and you've never really like, I mean, I don't really, I mean, again, like I wasn't doing anything like good either. So it's not like you would have been like, oh, you look really pretty today or something. 'Cause I mean, if anything, like, I mean, you were just like, oh, why are you wearing that? Like, or those lashes are so much, your makeup is so much, all your jewelry is like, so it was just like, I was just like, ugh, like, I don't even want to be around these people. Like, so I felt like I couldn't, like, I didn't feel like I had a safe place. And I felt like you guys wouldn't understand. But I think that just was I mean, it was also like growing up where like feelings and emotions weren't really like communicated. So like I didn't really know what was going on, and I wasn't used to talking about vulnerable things with you guys like that or anything. So it just like wasn't something that I saw as a possibility. Or
do you remember when we would talk about kind of deeper topics when you were younger? Or
yes, when I was younger, but it's like when I started to grow up, I started to view you differently. So it was like, and I started to view everyone differently. And even if it wasn't true how I was viewing, like that's how I saw everyone. So I like, you know, like the self-fulfilling prophecy and whatnot. But there was just like certain things that, you know, advice that y'all would give me that I wouldn't fully understand, and I'd take a completely different way. Like when mom would be like, no, like boys need to chase you, like don't ever like talk to a boy first or whatever. So I took that very literally. And yeah, so I stayed very far away from guys. I was terrified of them. And I was like I didn't intimacy, I was terrified of. And that's what also led into like more of my issues, because I couldn't stand intimacy. Then I got into like intimacy and social anxiety. Then I got into drinking, because drinking gave me the confidence I didn't have. So it's like all these, and honest, and like I'm thankful for everything I've been through, because now I truly understand why other people do it. And when I look at someone, I can tell like exactly what they're going through and how they're feeling. And I feel like because I've been there, I know what I would have needed to hear, what I would have understood, because it's like everyone was, you know, telling me the truth. Everyone was trying to like get me to see straight. I just couldn't do it, you know, like no one could say it to me in a point where I could see it or where I could understand. So that's like the difficult part, is like when you're so lost and when you're broken, like how can you actually help someone or get them to see the bigger picture in a way that they'll like understand without, because there's just so much like hurt there.
Yeah. So what other advice would you give to teenagers who are going through like a rebellion stage, or a stage where they feel like they're not worthy or they're not enough?
Again, your worth does not come from what you do, who your family is, where you're from, what you look like, what you will do, what's happened to you, your past. Your worth doesn't come from any of those things. And if it does, then there's going to be a lot harder things in your life, and you're going to face mental illness for sure. But if you get your worth from the Creator, and who literally made you and knows you inside out, and literally tells you exactly how you should live and what's good for you and what's not, and what to avoid and how to maneuver in this world, then you'll be satisfied, and you won't need anything else that this world has to offer in order to feel content or joy. Like last time I'd felt joy was when I was a kid, and I thought that I couldn't feel that again because I wasn't a kid anymore. But it's like, no, and I've like this month has been like the best month of my life so far, because I've actually been able to like experience joy again, and I've been healed from all these mental illnesses and things. So yeah, definitely like your self-worth. You just are already enough because God made you. And like the biggest thing for me that I didn't see is that like everyone was like broken. Like I knew that everyone was broken, but everyone had different types of broken, you know? So then when you start like comparing your brokenness, it's like at the end of the day, like no matter who you see and where they're at, like any celebrity or any, even those closest to you that look like they have such a beautiful life, like everyone is just as broken as you are, and it's because we live in a fallen world, and that's why we need a savior. That's why Jesus is coming. So
yeah. Anything else you want to share?
Thanks for listening if you got this far, and I just want to make a public apology to everyone in my past, because I promise you I'm not that person anymore, and if I had ever hurt you, I am deeply sorry, and I'm sorry to you as well for everything that I've put you through. I love you too. But I'm just extremely excited to see what God is going to do and how he can use me for his kingdom. And I'm on a mission now, because once you've wasted 7 years of your life, like, this really, but this just isn't a joke. Like, this really isn't a joke at all. Like, we're literally in the middle of war, spiritually and physically, over the world. But, like, we're here to wake everybody up, because there's just so much. There's so much out there. And don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. Because we're literally here. We're here for a reason. You weren't here for no reason. Like, you're here for a reason, and you have a divine purpose. So, that's what I got.
Well, Julia, thank you so much.
Thanks
for sharing your story.
Of course.
And I'm sure in the future we'll talk more about
we're gonna have some
other things.
some fun things.
All right. Thanks.